Because if you think about it, Islam, he fucking smothers everybody.
Yeah, he does.
And his striking is dangerous as fuck. Well, of course you know.
Yeah.
I've trained with him 100,000 times. But it's like that guy's, he's so fucking terrifying once he gets a hold of you. Like he submits everybody.
He's a whole lot better in the stand-up than people give him credit for.
Oh, he is?
His stand-up is actually really good
He head kicked
now.
Volkanovski.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care if Volkanovski took it on 11 days' notice. He still head kicked Volkanovski.
He's got a sneaky left head kick, high kick.
Bro,
it's nasty.
He fucks people up standing up, and that's part of the problem. Is that like you get accustomed to thinking about this guy's a
about the
grappler,
takedown, exactly.
and then all of a sudden, bing.
Being held down for 25 minutes and just having a boring fight. He's a phenomenal wrestler, a phenomenal grappler, and if you allow him the ability to stay on top and utilize his grappling and his wrestling, he can suffocate you. And just lie on you like a weighted blanket and you just find it so hard to move. And I'm like, that's not fun for anyone. It's not fun for me. It shouldn't be fun for him. And it's definitely not fun for anyone watching. So I feel like, and he did that. He did exactly that to win the world title fight. And I feel like that's the worst case.
And the very last thing, I wanted to ask you about Islam Makhachev and his upcoming fight. He made a successful debut in the upper weight class, step up to welterweight. What difference does it take when you stepping up in the weight class on a championship level?
Yeah, Islam's going to fight against Ian Gary next, right? I assume that Islam's going to win that one just because of his wrestling pedigree. You know, to be able to dictate if the fight's going to be standing or on the ground, it's a great gift. Another guy with a strong team behind him, strong faith. I'm not rooting for anyone in that fight because I don't know either one of those guys on the personal level, but I'm assuming that Islam's going to win.
You're lucky to see Islam fight once a year, or
hard,
shit,
man.
even it's just hard. But the fact that we get to see him, fight Ian Gary, that's going to be a sick fucking fight. Sick fight.
I think from what I've seen with Ian Gary, he's a guy that can get it done. Again, Islam is one of the greatest to ever do it in this game. He's dominant in his field, and now he's at welterweight. He wears it well. Like against JDM, I thought JDM scrambling would give him problems, but nah, he didn't. It wasn't the case. But with Gary, the fight with Shavkat, he got close at the end as well to finishing Shavkat, but the way he handled Shavkat's grappling, I wouldn't say foreshadow what's gonna happen with that fight, but I haven't actually looked at that fight too much yet, but I'm excited for that fight just because it's like, again, another one of those ones where it's like destiny. A guy like Ian Machado, who's come up, had this dream, been calling it since day dot, and he's been saying, I'm the future, and now the future is here. So will he get it done? Possibly, but I think I'll dive into that a little bit more. I'll make my picks for that a little bit more close to the fight.
Sean Murph, do you think Ian really has a chance against Islam? I do. Totally unbiased opinion. Makhachev's probably the best fighter in the UFC these days. It's a very tough fight because the grappling. Ian Machado Gary has very good takedown defense. But the chain wrestling of Islam's a freaking problem, man. And you're in there for 25 minutes. The other issue with this fight, Ian can win. He could. The issue with this fight is Ian doesn't have knockout power. And in order, I think, to get Islam out of there, you have to have that one shot, that Hail Mary in the back of your pocket where he can land at any given time. And Ian just doesn't possess that kind of power like a Prates has or Morales has, So it's a very tough fight for him. I hope he gets it done, but very tough fight.
Ian should get the Islam fight. Do you think he can beat him?
No, I think Islam will get him down, and I think Islam will probably submit him. Like, if you look where Shavkat had Ian, people can get to him, and if someone like Islam gets to him, it would be a long night for Ian. But Ian's very tricky. He's very long, rangy, so I think it'll be a very interesting fight, but ultimately I think Islam will get him down and sub it.
But we'll just skip right to Islam versus Ian Machado Gary. Dagestan versus Ireland. Ian McGarry, confident as ever. Ian McGarry is reminding us of a young Conor McGregor. He believes he's going to go in there. He believes he's going to... And in Islam saying that Ian's going to dance around. I think Islam knows this is a tough fight. I think Islam is aware of how hard it's going to be to get a hold of Ian. Ian's long. He's sharp. He's fast. He's focused. He wants this more than he wants oxygen in his fucking lungs. That's how bad he wants it. Islam's been at the top, moved up, won the belt, champ. How much more does he want it? He can't go out there and lose, but does he want it as bad as Ian Gary?
You got to kill Islam to beat Islam. You got to kill him. And
I don't think so. I think you can beat him in a decision.
You could.
That's what I think is going to happen. I think Ian Gill's.
I think he can last. I think Islam will gas before Ian. I don't know. I have a feeling Ian's winning.
Yeah,
I feel it as well.
You feel that?
I don't mean to just be an anti-Makhachev guy as usual, but I feel it as well. Imagine, like, if you would have told me like 6 months ago, within a 2-month period, Topuria is going to lose to Gaethje and Makhachev's going to lose to Ian Gary.
Bro.
I wouldn't believe you, but it could be our reality in a month's time.
It very well could be, and we missed out on Ilya versus Islam. Dude, I would have fucking, oh my God, if they would have made that fight, that was the fight to make at the moment. Yeah, I mean, now that fight's just probably never going to happen. Even if Islam wins, it still doesn't really make, it's not there. I think dude, I feel like he's going to stuff some takedowns and just look really, really good on the feet, land his shots, circle. He does very good footwork, very good cage awareness, good distance management. And he's going to be a lot bigger than Islam, I think.
The closer UFC 330 gets, the more divided the combat sports world becomes. This isn't one of those fights where everyone agrees on the outcome. In fact, the deeper experienced analysts study this matchup, the more complicated it looks. Some believe Islam Makhachev's championship-level control will simply be too much for Ian Gary to handle. Others think Gary possesses the exact style, movement, and confidence needed to create problems that many previous opponents couldn't. That's why the final wave of predictions from across the MMA community has become one of the biggest talking points heading into fight night. What makes this matchup so fascinating isn't just the names involved, it's the collision of two completely different approaches to mixed martial arts. One fighter has built a reputation through relentless pressure, world-class grappling, and an ability to force opponents into uncomfortable positions for 25 minutes. The other has made his rise by staying unpredictable, controlling distance, and refusing to fight on anyone else's terms. When those styles collide inside the octagon, something has to give. Several respected voices have noted that this isn't simply a battle of talent, it's a battle of discipline versus creativity. It's the proven dominance of an established champion against the fearless ambition of a challenger determined to shock the world. Those who follow the sport carefully are not dismissing this fight as one-sided, even if many still lean toward the favorite. Islam Makhachev enters this contest carrying enormous expectations. Over the last several years, he has established himself as one of the most complete fighters in the sport. His victories have consistently shown the same pattern. He pressures opponents, limits their space, forces mistakes, and gradually takes complete control of the fight. Once he establishes that rhythm, very few fighters have been able to escape it. His wrestling often receives the most attention, but analysts within the combat sports community have pointed out that his success begins long before the takedown. His footwork quietly cuts off the cage. His patience forces opponents to overreact. His striking has improved enough that opponents can't simply focus on defending the wrestling anymore. Every threat works together. That's exactly why preparing for Makhachev has become such a difficult challenge. If you focus only on avoiding takedowns, you leave yourself open to clean strikes. If you become too aggressive with your offense, you risk giving him the opening he wants to clinch or drag the fight to the mat. Very few fighters have managed to solve that puzzle over 5 rounds. But Ian Gary believes he's different. From the beginning of his UFC career, Gary has shown tremendous confidence in his own abilities. His movement, timing, and willingness to fight at unusual angles have allowed him to frustrate opponents who expected straightforward exchanges. Rather than standing directly in front of his opponent, Gary constantly looks to reset the distance, change the angle, and make every exchange happen on his own terms.
And I'm telling you right now, this fight for Islam Makhachev may be a lot harder than what people think. Given all of the accolades that Islam Makhachev has, it's easy to just dismiss Ian Gary and say, listen, he's got to just run right through him. Okay, you could send him to Dagestan or Georgia for 20 years and still forget all about it.
Send him 2-3 years Dagestan and forget.
Okay, because Islam Makhachev is the GOAT. He's going to take him down. The man's Irish. They don't wrestle in Ireland, for crying out loud. Well, guess what? He's a well-rounded mixed martial artist. He's 17-1. He had a very, very close fight with Shavkat Rakhmonov. Ended the fight threatening the rear naked choke. He beat the former champion Belal Muhammad that wrestled the life out of Leon Edwards, okay? So this is a real fight. Before you start to think that this is just going to be one-way traffic, I'm telling you, this is going to be a lot. The record of Islam Makhachev is 28 wins and 1 loss with 18 stoppages. And of course, if he can get a hold of Ian Gary and take him down, yeah, it's probably going to be easy. Ian will struggle to get back to his feet, and I don't think he can match Islam in terms of jiu-jitsu or submission grappling, okay? But it's the style that Ian Gary has. It is the length and the reach that he has, and it is his ability to silence out the crowd and not give a damn if you people are booing. If everyone in the arena is throwing their popcorn and the drinks and going, boo, this is garbage, because all Ian Gary is doing is dancing around, popping the jab, throwing the right hand, using push kicks to keep Islam away, he won't care, because on paper or according to the judges, he's winning the fight, and his job is to win the fight and become the welterweight champion of the world. But of course, it ain't going to be easy. Islam's going to go forward. I'm just saying, Philadelphia, they've got a real fighter.
That style has led many analysts to describe him as one of the more intelligent tactical fighters on the roster. Instead of chasing knockouts, he often focuses on making small adjustments throughout a fight. Every round becomes a problem-solving exercise, and that's one reason his supporters believe he has a realistic chance here. Still, this challenge is unlike anything he has faced before. Facing Makhachev means dealing with constant pressure from the opening seconds. There are no easy moments to breathe. Every feint matters. Every defensive mistake could lead directly into a clinch exchange or a takedown attempt. Even fighters with excellent wrestling backgrounds have struggled to slow Islam's momentum once he begins chaining attacks together. The biggest question surrounding Gary isn't whether he's talented enough to compete. Most observers agree that he absolutely belongs among elite competition. The real question is whether he can maintain his style while under non-stop physical and mental pressure from one of the most disciplined fighters in the world. Several respected voices have pointed out that Gary's footwork could become one of the most important factors in the entire fight. If he can consistently stay off the fence, he may force Makhachev into longer striking exchanges than usual. That could gradually increase Gary's confidence as the rounds progress. However, remaining in open space for 5 rounds against someone with Islam's cage-cutting ability is much easier said than done. Another key factor is range management. Gary performs at his best when opponents hesitate before entering striking range. His speed allows him to land clean shots while avoiding prolonged exchanges. Against Makhachev, though, hesitation is rarely part of the equation. Islam has shown throughout his career that he is comfortable closing distance repeatedly, even if it means absorbing a strike to secure a stronger position afterward. That willingness to trade short-term damage for long-term control has become one of his greatest weapons. The grappling battle itself may ultimately decide everything. If Makhachev secures early takedowns and controls position, the momentum of the fight could shift quickly in his favor. His top pressure has consistently drained opponents physically while forcing them to spend enormous amounts of energy simply trying to stand back up. Even when submissions don't come immediately, the psychological effect of constantly defending can completely change a fighter's game plan. On the other hand, if Gary repeatedly defends those attempts and forces the fight back to striking range, confidence could begin swinging toward the challenger. Every successful escape would increase the pressure on Islam to find another solution. That's why so many final predictions remain surprisingly cautious. The general sentiment among professionals who have studied this closely is that Makhachev deserves to be the favorite because of his consistency. His ability to execute the same disciplined game plan against world-class opposition has earned tremendous respect. Champions become champions for a reason, and Islam has repeatedly demonstrated that he rarely beats himself. But at the same time, those same analysts recognize that Gary presents certain stylistic questions that cannot be ignored. His movement is different. His confidence is different. His willingness to stay composed under pressure has impressed many observers throughout his rise. If anyone expects Gary to panic simply because he's sharing the octagon with one of the sport's biggest stars, they're probably underestimating his mentality. Another area receiving attention is cardio. Championship fights often become battles of endurance just as much as skill. Makhachev has consistently shown that he can maintain pressure deep into fights without abandoning his strategy. That level of conditioning has become one of his greatest competitive advantages. Gary also prides himself on maintaining a high pace while staying technically sharp. If this contest reaches the championship rounds with both fighters still relatively fresh, every small adjustment becomes magnified. One perfectly timed counter or one successful takedown could completely change the scorecards. Mental composure may be the hidden factor that decides everything. Big fights create enormous pressure, but both men have built reputations for staying calm under difficult circumstances. Makhachev rarely appears rushed. He trusts his preparation and sticks to his fundamentals. Gary, meanwhile, embraces the spotlight and seems energized by opportunities many fighters might find overwhelming. That psychological battle often begins long before the cage door closes. Confidence can influence decision-making. Patience can prevent costly mistakes. Belief can allow fighters to remain committed to a strategy even after losing an early round. As fight night approaches, predictions continue pouring in from every corner of the MMA world. Some analysts believe Makhachev's grappling eventually overwhelms Gary after several competitive rounds. Others think Gary's movement and and striking create enough uncertainty to push the champion into unfamiliar situations. Interestingly, very few experienced observers expect this to be an easy fight regardless of who wins. That's an important point. The closer experts examine this matchup, the less they see a simple favorite versus underdog story. Instead, they see two highly intelligent competitors with completely different paths to victory. For Makhachev, the formula is clear: close distance without taking unnecessary risks, force clinch exchanges whenever possible, mix striking with level changes, control position, drain Gary's energy, make every minute physically exhausting until opportunities for dominant control begin to appear. For Gary, success likely depends on discipline rather than aggression. He must stay mobile, avoid extended grappling exchanges, punish entries with accurate strikes, and force Islam to repeatedly reset. If he can consistently deny control while winning striking exchanges, the pressure could slowly shift back toward the champion. When all those factors are weighed together, it's easy to understand why predictions remain divided despite Makhachev entering as the more established fighter. My lean ultimately stays with Islam Makhachev, but not because this appears to be a mismatch. It doesn't. His championship experience, ability to adapt during fights, and relentless control give him the more reliable path to victory over 5 rounds. Those qualities have consistently separated him from elite opponents, and it's difficult to ignore that history. At the same time, Ian Gary has enough technical ability and confidence to create moments that could make this one of the most competitive fights of Islam's recent career. If Gary successfully keeps the fight standing for long stretches, the tension inside the arena will only grow with every passing minute. Whether the champion reinforces his dominance or the challenger produces the biggest upset of his career, UFC 330 has all the ingredients to deliver one of the year's most compelling championship battles. Now the question shifts to you. Do you believe Islam Makhachev's pressure and grappling will once again prove impossible to overcome, or can Ian Gary's movement, striking, and tactical approach produce the upset that so many fans are debating? Share your final prediction in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more UFC news, fight breakdowns, expert reactions, and in-depth combat sports analysis.